they live near it and are concerned it's going to affect them. The enjoyment of their home, isn't it? I mean, house value gets mentioned, but a lot of it is it's going to be smelly, and no one would want that, would they? I understand that. So it's that concern. Also, air pollution gets mentioned, but it's an understandable. I understand people have concerns.
And recently there's been quite a few cases where the level of support is, in terms of letters going into the planning portal, the letters of support have been going up significantly. Any idea what's driving that? Or, it seems to be quite recent that suddenly there's...
I think that's just perhaps, applicants talking to their friends, asking for support. Simple as that.
Yes, I need to sit down and have a look at some of the cases.
Now you will get, like I said before, you get sort of pressure groups or people put petitions in a local shop and will galvanise, they're partly alerting people to a proposal, or there's an argument to say they are actively seeking people to object, and the other side to that is
same thing.
People doing the equivalent thing, isn't it? Part of the planning process, I guess.
Do you go through all those objections and supporting letters and?
We will, yeah. You have to look at them to understand the issues that they're sort of dealing with, in order to know is any sort of direct response sort of needed. But I would tend to, wait for the planning officer to come back with their points. Those letters are commenting on a planning application and are submitted to the planning officer stroke the council, rather than me personally or the applicant. And as part of that planning process, as we said earlier, the planning officer is assessing the proposal, waiting for their internal comments on odour. If that comes back saying, well, we've looked at everything and we feel there's no problem, it's acceptable in odour, then yes, you might have all those comments from Labour objections.
But they would just be...
But, if the planning officer is saying, well, it's fine from an odour point of view, then,
No, that makes sense. I was going to ask about cumulative impacts, but in a way we have touched on that because you were talking about ammonia and so on. Or, are you aware of any more sort of strategic approach that might be developing, say, on a county basis or whatever, that is... Are you aware of any discussions about sort of looking at it as a whole, the numbers or the distribution or the trends?
Not really, I don't think. Cumulative impacts are, if there's another site nearby, or if there are existing poultry units and you want to build some more, then clearly there's a direct, it's an obvious impact. I had one site where the traffic route into Hereford, there were some big housings, sort of 80, 90 houses had been granted permission. So we were asked from a highway point of view to do a cumulative impact of the poultry sites, these other housing sites. Would that cause a problem along the road? In terms of a more strategic cumulative impact,
not really.
Hasn't gone that
somebody's
far.
I've had people say, oh well, maybe they shouldn't be allowed in a certain parts of the county, for example, or something slightly more.
Yeah.
I mean, that obviously it's not the sort of thing where there's like housing or employment land where you can strategically say these are good sites and these are not good sites.
Yeah.
But people are beginning to say we could do with something like that or some supplementary planning guidance.
Yeah, planning committee at Herefordshire. Some people in those committees have said, "Oh, we need guidance," which is more akin to what you've just said. And that's obviously down to the council to look at themselves. I guess it's there's the flip side to that is the planning process. You are looking at the impacts. Are they acceptable or not? Yes, clearly some strategic study could be done, and it might say this part of Herefordshire has got a lot of poultry units, or has got particularly sensitive landscape or triple SIs. Therefore, we don't want any more. In theory,
or they have to meet higher criteria.
In theory, that could be done, I guess. Yeah.
And what about there's neighbourhood plans coming up all over the county, particularly in Herefordshire? Do you see them having any influence or not influence? Any?
Certainly they can. Yes. I mean, most of the neighbourhood plans are focused on villages, and they tend to draw the neighbourhood because most of the focus is coming from housing delivery mainly, and therefore the settlement boundaries of neighbourhood plans is often drawn extremely tight around the existing village or settlement boundary.
There's one or two that are beginning to mention things like intensive livestock units within the neighbourhood plans, but I don't think they've yet been tested. I don't think there's been an application where in an area where that applies. So I was just wondering whether that.
Yeah, I haven't come across it on a personal level as yet. But again, in theory, once a neighbourhood plan is approved, it becomes part of the statutory planning.
So you would then need to address all the things that within that.
And subject to what that relevant policy says, you would then, another issue with planning is it's an interpretation of a policy, which again is part of the whole confusion of planning, which is why there's a lack of certainty, because it involves interpretation of guidelines and policies.
No, absolutely. It's always going to be, someone somewhere has to make the decision one way or the other.
Yeah.
Maybe I should focus. I'm conscious of time, so I don't know whether just a last couple of questions about what you think. Would you like to see some improvements with the processes? Can you see anything where the whole planning application for poultry units, either the application process or the developments themselves, can you see improvements that would address some of the wider concerns that are emerging?
I think the process really is, I think it's very robust, and I'm not sure that needs any changes because it asks for so much technical information. We spoke earlier about it is technical information, and for the layperson that's extremely difficult to understand, I think. But that, you can't avoid that. It is a very technical process. But it does, by producing a technical report, simplistically, that should say it's okay or no it isn't, And if it's saying no it isn't, then clearly the application shouldn't be being submitted. Clearly, you can have occasions where it isn't so black and white, and there might be some issue, and again, planning is having to balance all those disciplines. You might find, well, from a landscape point of view,